Morning, everyone. Some weird light on my chin. We'll just keep going. Cranking story this morning, one of the best, one of my kids' favourites. Let me read it. This is Mark 6, verse 14. Actually, yeah, 14. King Herod heard of it, for Jesus' name was becoming known. Some were saying John the Baptizer has been raised from the dead. For this reason, these powers are at work at him. But others say it's Elijah. And others said it's a prophet like one of the prophets of old. But when Herod heard of it, he said, John, whom I beheaded, has come back from the dead. For Herod himself had sent men to arrest John, bound him and put him in prison on account of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because Herod had married her. For John had been telling Herod, it's not lawful for you to have your brother's wife. And Herodias had a grudge against him and wanted to kill him. But she could not, for Herod feared John, knowing that he was a righteous and holy man, and he protected him. When he heard him, he was greatly perplexed, yet he liked to listen to him. But an opportunity came when Herod, on his birthday, gave a banquet for his courtiers and officers and for the leaders of Galilee. When his daughter Herodias came in and danced, she pleased Herod and his guests. And the king said to the girl, ask me whatever you wish, and I will give it. And he solemnly swore to her, whatever you ask me, I will give you, even up to half my kingdom. She went out and said to her mother, what should I ask for? She replied, the head of John the Baptizer. Immediately, she rushed back to the king and requested, I want you to give me at once the head of John the Baptizer on a platter. The king was deeply grieved, yet, out of regard for his oath of the guests, he did not want to refuse her. Immediately the king sent soldiers of the guard with orders to bring John's head. He went and beheaded him in prison, brought his head back on a platter and gave it to the girl. Then the girl gave it to her mother. When his disciples heard about this, they came and took his body and laid it in the tomb. Oh my gosh. That is a brutal story. I was only joking when I said it was my kid's favourite. Actually, I was just telling it to them the other day, and they were like, what? They just cut his head off? It was wild. But the question that comes into my mind is, why was Herod against John? Well, in a way, I guess he's not against John, is he? Like, he kind of likes to listen to him, but why did he arrest him in the first place? Why was John such a threat to Herod? Herod is the king. Well, I think when you think about it, it's because of this reason. Herod is the king of the Jews, or the appointed king of the Jews, and he wants to be recognized as such by the people. He wants people to love him and adore him and worship him to a certain degree, or at least venerate him. But then John comes along. John is pointing towards a different king. Not a king who was born in a palace. Not a king who lives in a palace. Not a king with a whole bunch of power and force and violence. But a king who was born in a stable. A king who's wandering around the streets. A king who will later say that he has no place to rest his head, that he relies on the generosity of others. John is pointing to that kind of king. And Herod can't have that going on because he wants the devotion of the people. So by the end of the story, this family is so cranky at John for pointing towards a different way and a different king that they cut his head off. So the question is here, what kind of king do you want? Do you want a king of violence and aggression and power, a rich king who is above everyone, or a king who's born in humble senses, doesn't have a home, and will later lay down his life for you?